Welcome to part 1 of this AVA tutorial. This is part 1 of 2 on how to join scans together. Okay, so in the situation where your artwork is bigger than your scanner even, you might need to scan in little sections, okay? So an important thing to remember here is that you need to be scanning in a high resolution, so I'd say about 300 dpi, and also make sure that you've got an overlap between your sections because that's what we're going to use to stick them together. Okay, so once you've done that, you can open up your files into AVA. So you can see here my window menu. I've got all 4 of my scans there, and we're going to pin these all together. Okay, so in part 1, we're going to look at how you would stick them all together, and in part 2, we're going to look at how you would edit them in case there's any sort of issues. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to tile my windows. Okay, and this is really, really useful because it means that you can see all of your designs in the same place. So if I click tile windows there, you can see that it's just put all of my scans very nicely together in the same, just in a nice square across my screen, okay? So first step is to find your first piece. So in this instance, it is this one here, so scan 1. And what we're going to do in here is crop our file bigger. Okay, so I grab my scissors tool, and then I just draw a crop box, so just big enough that you think you'll be able to fit all of your pieces in there, and then just double click and you'll see that just makes the page a lot bigger. Okay, and then we need to find the second piece, so this one on the right hand side here, and just zoom out slightly. And this is why we're going to look for these overlaps that we're talking about, okay? So this is why an overlap is really important when you're scanning in, because we're going to use those to stick these 2 pieces together. Okay, so you can see that this purple flower here matches this purple flower here, and there is a little section of those petals which overlaps. So we need to grab our pin tool, which is this little black one here. And what we're going to do is we're going to zoom right in, and we're going to find an area which overlaps in both of these files. So somewhere that's quite easy to see, so I'm going to go with this little hook area in here. I'm just going to pop my pin in there. Okay, ooh, too bad. Okay, and something which is really useful is, I mean, you don't have to be exact, but the more exact you are when you do this, when you're sticking your pins in terms of location, actually the less work you have to do further on. So it can be quite nice to just zoom right up and find an area which you think is very, very clearly the same in both files. Okay, so we're in our second scan now, and the next step is to go to Edit and select all. Okay, so that's just going to select the whole file, and we're going to go to Edit and Copy. Back into our first scan, and I'm just going to zoom out so you can see what happens. And we're going to go to Edit and Paste. And you can see there that that just sticks that directly on top of it. Okay, and you can see that this matches up quite nicely because we've been very careful about where we put the pin. Okay. So you would just repeat that for all of your sections, sticking them all together, and then there will be a nice design at the end of it. Okay, so that is part 1 of how you would put scans together. This is the very basics of it. And we'll look in part 2 at what you would do in case there's any sort of mistakes in there.